Live for our Women in Sales event, hosted by myself, James Ski, CEO and founder of Sales Confidence, and also Tom Strange, who I'll be introducing shortly for this afternoon's event. I just want to kick this off that you should now be in the stage area. Can you just let me know that you can see and hear me in the chat? So I can see Morgan, Charlotte, Samantha, Camelia, Louise. Can you just say hi, just so I've got a sense check that you can see me and that you're in the stage area? So I'm just going to hold for a minute, just as people are getting logged in. But I just want some confirmations in the chat that you can see and hear me clearly. Thanks, Tamara. We've got a bunch of you logging in now, which is fantastic. Hi, Morgan. Hi, Charlotte from On Mind. Hi, Rita. Okay, fantastic. So if you're just logging in, welcome to the Women in Sales Confidence event. The format of today is we've got an excellent world-class lineup of speakers that are going to be giving you inspiration, insight, and guidance on what it means to be a woman leader. And there's a various set of topics that we're going to be sharing to motivate and inspire you. I'm going to invite our co-host up, and we're going to do a brief introduction where we're going to ask some interactive questions before we start the main talks for this afternoon. If this is your first experience of a sales confidence event, what we're aiming to do is create an inclusive and diverse community of people to share without judgment, to support each other and elevate each other in this profession of sales. The format that we run is that each speaker gets roughly 7 to 8 minutes where they will inspire you with their expertise. Once each of the talks have been delivered, then we will go into a Q&A. So do take note of questions as you go on, and you will be able to answer and get those questions answered at the end. Okay, so I'm going to invite my co-host up to this event, Mr. Tom Strange. Hi, Tom. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Hello and welcome, everybody, this afternoon.
Excited to have you join me. So just to give you a bit of background on this event, everybody, Sales Confidence as a community in sales has been running about 5 years now. About a year ago, a number of individuals approached me and said, look, James, your focus and goal is on elevating sales as a profession. But what are you doing to support women and future women leaders rise up in the profession? And the reason why this became important is because a lot of people were coming to my events and noticing that we were lacking women representatives on stage, but also other diverse leaders. And we needed really to address that. And it made sense to elevate women as a segment and have your own theme in series of events. So this is the third event that we're running online to support women in sales. The other thing, just so you, I guess, get a little bit more from me, is I've got a young daughter. She's 8. I'm not sure if her ambition yet is to end up in the sales profession, although I'd love her to get involved in sales and business. But, you know, I care about being an advocate for women and obviously for the future of my daughter. And so I'm supportive of individuals wanting to grow and develop their career. And today I'm joined by Tom Strange. Tom is involved in the sales confidence business. He's an ex-CEO and multi-time founder. He's built mega million dollar businesses. And in particular, over the last couple of years, he's been helping women in leadership develop their skills, their confidence, and how they operate in a professional world. Tom, maybe you can share a little bit more before we kick off with the Q&A and interaction.
Absolutely. Thank you, James. So I've been fascinated with human potential, you know, what makes the difference in the quality of people's lives, in your lives. And that began first with a startup for children. That one was acquired. And then, as James says, I had another that was in AI, and that was all about exploring, you know, consciousness, and could we create, now we see OpenAI, ChatGPT. We were very early there in exploring creating digital beings. So we had a team of psychologists, neuroscientists, behavioral therapists, really creating those language models with that human underpinning. And so the first company was acquired. It was from that one that I actually got fired. After that became, multi-$100 million business. And that launched me into rebirthing myself, 2-year journey of exploring, retraining as a coach, a therapist, as a consultant to work with women now more specifically. And that's what's been happening for about the last 2 years to help them both in a personal capacity and also across the business.
Fantastic. And, really, we're advocates for supporting women across the profession. And what we want to do today is garnish some insights into what you're feeling right now as a woman in sales. And it's great. I'm seeing lots of men on this call as well. So thank you for being supportive of this event. But in particular, we just want to understand what your experience. So we've got some technology that Tom's going to walk you through called Menti. And we just invite you to use your mobile phone, interact and engage. And that will give us some insights before our speakers come up. So Tom, if you can get that set up, and I'll also just explain what's going to happen after we've done this Q&A. So just to let you know, once we've done the interaction and had the interaction with Tom and the Menti technology, we're going to have Leanne and Melissa from Demand Base that are going to be talking about why sales and marketing alignment is integral to your go-to market strategy. We've got Siobhan, and I can see you, Siobhan, so you're in the right place, who's going to be talking about resilience strategies to help you shine. And then we've got Rachel Shields, who is the sales manager at Zoom Info, talking about stories that have shaped her career as a female leader. And then we're going to be wrapping up the event with Tamara, who's going to be talking brand, and this time it's personal. And then we will go into Q&A so you can ask questions. So Tom, what do we need to do here? What's part one?
Yep, so this is all about co-creation. So what we'll do here is we'll run some simple questions and you'll get to input your answers, and we'll build as much as we can of today off the back of that. So just pull out your phones, and you can use the QR code there and just use your camera there, of course. I'm sure you'll know what to do with that. So set the QR code up and just tap on that link that pops up, and you'll be with us right here, right now, creating this experience. As we move through, you'll see on your screen what actually is there will change and will map what you see on the presenter screen. So you can input your answers, and in real time we'll get that, and we'll see how everybody's feeling, what you're thinking, and what you would like to get from today. So you've got the QR code there, or go to menti.com and you can type into the box that will pop up right now, 51841920.
Great. I can see people liking. Can we have a little bit more love, please? Can we have a few more love hearts? It seems that there we go. Thanks for switching over. So I can see people starting to interact. We'll give you a little bit of time because look, this is useful. This first part, as Tom mentioned, is totally anonymous. We're not collecting this data. It's going to be deleted. We don't see it other than what's going through your minds right now. And we feel like this is a really powerful way for you to interact and understand how others are thinking. So thanks for the love. Should we get moving through, Tom?
Yeah, and that's the key distinction that James made. So this is part one, and for this part, it's all anonymous because we want you to have a safe, inclusive space to truly express what's on your heart, what's with your mind. And part two, you get to do that, and we will actually link that to an email. So if there's anything we can do to support you on that journey of learning and growth and development, we can reach out to you. But part one, it's all anonymous. So yes, let's get underway. So James, over to you.
Okay, so the first thing we want to understand is what's your unique genius? What is unique to you that people you want to see and hear and should know you for? What are you known for? What makes you special? So as we sit the answers, we start getting up and seeing your responses. Will we see the responses, Tom?
We absolutely will. I was waiting for another one before I move us on, the suspense. Let's see what this one answer is. And we'll see more coming in. Making money. Okay. Do we have another answer about unique genius?
Great. This is fantastic. So I love connecting people to each other, as do I. That I listen and value people, that I endeavor to hear them before anything else, caring about what I do, an advocate for women in business, an ABM expert, empathetic, team player, building great teams, creating great culture, And this is really fun. Okay, my way to reach contacts, I can find everyone who you need, no matter of level. Someone should talk to you. Adaptable, being approachable, being a chameleon, emotional intelligence, being outgoing, building great teams, breaking down complex concepts, inspiring high performance. This is excellent. Thank you for sharing.
Okay.
Do you feel that you have a unique gift as a woman that has been undervalued? So do you feel that your unique gifts right now have been undervalued in the workplace? Yes or no? Interesting. We got any more answers? Okay, well, it's clearly pointing towards the fact that many of you have been feeling undervalued for what you bring to your business and table. And a couple of you that have said no. Thanks for sharing. So hopefully get into the flow now. If you're just arriving late, by the way, we're just doing an interactive Q&A. To get access to this so you can answer the questions, you just need to go to menti.com and use the code 5184192, which is in the top. All right, let's go to the next question, Tom. Do you feel you are being overlooked for opportunities because you are a woman? It's quite interesting to see the dynamic as it moves through. We've used this a few times now, and it's quite powerful to get the interaction. So the majority is looking like no. Next question, Tom. Do you currently perceive gender-related prejudice or bias being a woman in sales? Someone super quick on the trigger. Thanks for being quick on this. Interesting responses. And this is what it's about. You know, it's all being able to relate to other experiences, and we're doing it in this unique way so you can get a view of what other people are thinking and feeling right now. Next question. So how would you like to see organizations and leaders better supporting your ambitions? What views have you got on how an organization that you work for right now can better support you in your goals and the steps that you're taking in your career? Let us know the first thought that comes into your mind. And hopefully this will prepare you for some of the questions that you can ask when we bring up our speakers shortly. So we've got a few more questions, and then we're going to introduce our first speaker. So some of you have mentioned clear paths to progression, more classes, more events for learning within your business, salary transparency, more balanced representation of all people, every level of organization. So all voices are in the decision are heard. Yeah, having a personal development budget, better trust my judgment and be less sexist towards women, taking a chance on me, more opportunities for advancement, more training, more money, having more female leaders to look up to in my environment, more female senior leadership, and that's something that we really want to support. Better support for self-development, fewer sport analogies. Yeah, that's a fair one. more female leaders. That's what we want to support. And targets for promotion. Great. Amazing. Really do appreciate all the interaction, right? It's great because you can see what other people are thinking and feeling. And so this is great content to get a feel for how other people are feeling right now in the community, in their workplace. Next question.
Yeah, and the key thing here, it's all about illumination. James and I were talking this weekend, and the truth is we don't have all the answers. You know, we're here co-hosting this event with our speakers. We don't have all the answers. What we do have is curiosity and a genuine sort of openness to learn and be receptive. So thank you for illuminating in our awareness and the awareness of everyone here today what's present for you now.
Here's the question. Especially for those of you in sales right now, how confident do you feel about your current sales targets for the quarter? Now, we've heard a lot in the macroeconomic environment about the challenges out there. So it's interesting to see how people are feeling and thinking right now. Plenty of work to do. Very balanced right now between unrealistic targets, those that will meet or exceed, or those that are unfortunately more likely to miss right now. So it's tough. And, you know, we need to be able to support each other through that. Okay, Tom, next. Okay, cool. So that's part one. And that was completely anonymous. So, you know, we're not sharing that. We're not recording it. But you've got to experience and get a feel for others and what they're thinking. And I think some of our speakers that are talking about their journey today as female leaders, the career that they've been on, the challenges that they face, will be addressing that in the next talks that are coming up in the next couple of minutes. But this is part two. So this is, we will be capturing your information. So again, so log out of your current Menti and go back to menti.com or plug the QR code. And then if you can just like and share, or like and click the love heart, just so we know that people are logged in. Thanks for the comment from Ashley. This is eye-opening. Yeah, we think so as well. Let's have a few more hearts. So same process, but we're just using a different QR code, using Menti, and we've changed the code. So 8982 8888. Okay, great. So we can see you all logging in. Let's step on, Tom.
Okay. Now, what you'll all see here is an opportunity to put your email in. And James and I are now launching into a series of events for women. This event, of course, we welcome everybody, those that identify as a man in any which way that you choose and resonates with you. And what we're now doing is launching to an event for women specifically to create the safe space, the container that's inclusive, and really this be a launch pad for future results and success and possibility. And so anybody that's open, interested and curious about the series of events for women that we'll be launching, just put your email in there so we've got your consent, and we'll reach out to you with something that's coming very soon from now.
Go on. Next one, Tom. Okay, so what are the top 3 words that best describe your ideal sales community right now? And let's motor through this. So just tap it in quickly. Low ego, open, inclusive, interactive, inspirational, supportive, inclusive and open, practical, fun. Great. All right, next one, Tom. What are the top 3 words for the passions and values that fuel your legacy? So what type of leader do you want to be in the future? who are you as an individual? What are you passionate about, and what are your values that you hold true to yourself? Morgan says this one is fun to watch change. Women-led, learning focused, fair, accountability, results driven, equal, open, growth, coaching, mentoring. Brilliant. Awesome. Passionate, innovative, mission driven. That's a good one. Results driven. Excellent. Next one, Tom. What three words reveal the authentic personal brand you want to be seen for? So this tees up Tamara's talk later on, who's going to be talking about developing your personal brand and how important that is. And so, you know, part of what we want to do here is ensure that you're connected to the content that's going to be value for you. You know, we've only got 90 minutes here today, but we want to put the content that's going to be in your hands and available. And just so you know, all of this content is recorded and you'll have access to this. Hi, Tamara. Yeah, the speakers are coming on in one more minute. Next question, Tom. How do you feel about your personal brand? Is it 100% aligned and congruent? Great. I think we just got one more question, haven't we, Tom?
Well, I think this is a great launching point for us to now move forward with the speakers. This last one is really about, here at Sales Confidence, what we're doing is we're launching a series of things that may support you. So just let us know, how are you most likely to elevate the expertise of others in your profession? And then the last question is how we could do that for you. So these are the last two questions, then we're into the speakers. Let us know what you're thinking, what you're feeling.
Amazing. All right, Tom, I'm going to bring on the first speaker.
Perfect.
Okay, so thank you for that. That was really fun in terms of the interaction. You know, we've been able to share some data and collect some insights, but also for you to see what others are experiencing. For now, what we want to be able to do is introduce our first set of speakers, Leanne, who's Director of Marketing EMEA, and Melissa is the Growth Account Director at Demandbase. And they're going to be talking about why sales and marketing alignment is integral to your go-to-market strategy. So Leanne was a previous marketing, she's been part of the marketing team at Demandbase for 7 years now, having previously held roles at Apogee, SumTotal Systems, Absolute Software. And Melissa started her career at Yelp. She's been on a long journey at Demandbase. She actually started in San Francisco as an SDR, and she's developed and grown across various parts of Demandbase over the last few years. So I'm excited to have two speakers from Demandbase, and I'm going to invite them up to the stage. Welcome, and let's have a virtual round of applause for Leanne and Melissa.
Thanks, James. So happy to be here today. I'm a huge advocate for women in business. I actually created a Women in B2B network about 4 years ago, and it's great to see these networks and events just increasing over the years and having more forums and stuff. As James mentioned, I'm a career-long B2B marketeer, and a huge part of my role is working with sales. And one of the biggest challenges that I see in the market in general and with our customers is that lack of alignment between sales and marketing. So I thought it was important to share, you know, why it's important to have that alignment, why it's integral to your go-to-market strategy, especially as selling's just become so much harder this year. You know, a lot of the results of the polls that we were running, you know, a lot of us are saying, don't know, my targets are unrealistic. I'm going to likely miss my target this year. We're seeing budget cuts across the board. People are just taking longer to make those decisions. And oftentimes they're doing nothing and not making a purchase. So I thought it was important to highlight that today. And what we're going to be sharing is the ways in which Melissa and I are working together to create that better alignment, and how we work as a sales and marketing team within Demandbase. And oftentimes we see that those two teams are working in silos. Sometimes they're ignoring each other. Sometimes there's resentment there, or even worse, competing with one another as well. And I would love to see more events actually, and forums where those two teams can come together and really start to have better conversations and build better relationships, because we know in marketing of all those, you know, great expertise in creating these amazing experiences and building awareness for our target audience. And sales are great at knowing, you know, what kind of accounts and needs are going to become like valuable customers. So actually combining these two super like powers, essentially, you've got this laser focused go-to-market team. And I think that really starts with that kind of shared focused around focusing time and money on those accounts and people that are most likely to buy. And as I've mentioned, like that's harder than ever today for the reasons that I've mentioned, but also because so much of the time that customers are spending in that buyer journey is done without, you know, being in front of the sales rep as well. So they're taking longer to get to that kind of decision as well. And I think some of the things that can help with that is actually just having that shared view of accounts to say, actually, we're going to really just focus and prioritize our time on the accounts that have that highest propensity to buy. And then working with your marketing team to actually link data, having that one shared view of accounts, having those systems and channels and processes and teams in place to help overcome that kind of go-to-market fragmentation that exists as well. And I think a key part of that is actually starting to measure that engagement across the buyer journey. So us as marketing, we're able to see insight into actually where accounts are in that buyer journey at any given stage, and also sharing that with sales so they know when is the right time to follow up, where are they in their buyer journey, what should I be saying at each stage. So the key points really is, you know, one is aligning on the data that sales and marketing are using. Two is sharing that insight. So whatever insights that you're getting on those target accounts, it's sharing that with sales so they can see what industry that account's in, how engaged are they showing any signs of intent for product solutions for our competitors, and then coordinating those account interactions like across that buyer journey. We've seen like time and time again that's been really successful. And I think there's some key steps to aligning those teams. So it firstly starts with collaboration from both of those teams to work on actually what does our ideal customer profile look like. Let's see, you know, who are our most successful customers, and try and get more accounts like that into our pipeline. No, it sounds really simple, but actually having that collaboration on your ideal customer profile doesn't happen in every single organization today. And also having that alignment on account scoring models and what is important to you in terms of how good a fit an account is to your organization, and then agreeing on how you're actually going to go to market and what that style looks like. Once you've got that agreement, it's then around, picking your target accounts. One of the things that's been really successful with us at Demandbase is actually tiering the target accounts. So we actually let sales pick their own target account. So it's marketing driven, but sales owned. That whole way around, deciding what accounts to have on their target account list. And then we support them by saying, these are the entitlements that each of the accounts are going to get at each of the different account tiers. And I always look at it as a kind of contract between marketing and sales to say, okay, if it's a tier 1 account, these are going to be your strategic accounts, the ones that have those highest potential value. Let's have a bit more of a white glove kind of treatment towards those accounts as well. So defining those entitlements to support that target account engagement is really key, and sharing account intelligence. So where are they in the buying cycle? How many people in that account is engaged? What kind of intent are we showing? What kind of engagement are we getting from these accounts is really, really critical. So sales teams know, when is the right time to reach out and what to say, and then meeting regularly to check in on what's happening. One of the things that we've done that's been really successful is what we call ABM stand-ups. Melissa and I meet monthly. I meet with our new business teams as well on this, and it's just having a look at, like, what is the health of your pipeline? Where are the gaps? Are there any deals that are stalling? Do you have enough at each stage of the funnel to help you hit your revenue targets? And coming up with a plan together on what we can do if we need to make improvements and to support each other, essentially. So those stand-ups have been hugely successful. And then another part of it is also agreeing on, what are the right metrics to align on. So pipeline, revenue, and then their leading indicators. So things at the top of the funnel, MQLs, hand raisers, then things that turn into meetings and SQLs and discovery opportunities, to really attain, like, are we engaging with the right accounts, and are those right accounts getting into pipeline? So those are some of the things that have been really successful in helping us create that better alignment. Melissa's going to share actually how she's using this in real life. So Melissa, I'd love to hear some examples of like how you're using the data that we're sharing with you to help with your new business deals when you were an SDR, and now with your upsell and renewal opportunities in your role as a growth account director.
Yeah, totally. Thanks, Leanne. I think like really the biggest takeaway, and I have been at demand-based 8 years, hitting the phones, trying to generate pipeline, and then moved into enterprise sales. And now I'm on the customer side and went over the pond at a certain point too. But essentially, I think like the biggest takeaway that has really been game changing at demand-based for any of my customers aggressively. So from sort of like an order of operations perspective, the way that I start my day, week, and this has really held true whether it was SDR, enterprise AE, or working with customers now, is understanding and aligning with Leanne on which accounts we're focusing on. Obviously, right now, my job is more centered on upsell and retention. So it's really looking at opportunities to identify that they're in market for new modules, but even in pre-sale, it was just, are they currently a prospect we should be focused on? And if so, what is Leanne doing? And really trusting marketing and knowing that you're kind of on the same page with, here's the right accounts, here's the data that supports that. And so the low-hanging fruit for any salesperson is obviously tracking the website engagement. So starting my day every day, it's looking at which of the accounts have been on the website, also understanding if they're showing that intent, which is a term we throw around often, but it's essentially our ability to track companies who are doing research on keywords and competitors and things like that indicate that they're obviously in a buyer's journey. And then being really strategic on how I go after them. And because I have a full understanding from my ABM stand-ups, like they're in an ad campaign that Leanne's running, promoting this type of messaging, I can then, as a salesperson, be equally as personalized and white glove when reaching out to a smaller set of accounts that we've used data to determine are the right companies to be focused on at a given time. And so even my messaging is right in step with what marketing is promoting. And I'm really fortunate, and it's one of the reasons I've been at demand-based so long, that our marketers are actually tied to pipeline. So it behooves both of us to be driving pipeline at the same time. But I think really the biggest game changers throughout my career is buddy up to marketing and trust that what they're doing is going to work. Even like my fiance has been at like 4 tech companies since I've been at demand-based. And I'm always like, the first person you meet is the digital marketer. The second person you want to buddy up to is sales ops. And it's been an absolute game changer, just really kind of staying in stride with marketing and being more focused on quality over quantity, and both emphasizing pipeline generation versus getting a ton of leads, only about a quarter of which are actually ones that sales gets excited about. So, yeah.
Great. Thanks for sharing. I love the trust word as well. That's always great to hear. And I think that's why I've been at Demandbase for such a long time as well, for that exact reason. It's like having the best alignment. I've definitely experienced that, where we have trust between both teams and we're both working towards the same goals. I think it's been just helped us both be really successful and have that great alignment.
Anything else to add, Leanne?
I think that was all the key things. I don't know if we had any questions or.
Your questions will come at the end, so we will bring you. I know you might have to pop, but we have the Q&A. If not, we'll summarise them. So thank you very much for taking the first mic on the stand. It's not easy, but I appreciate you, and we'll invite our next speaker up. So I'm really excited. To be fair, she raised her hand up and got onto the stage, and that's what it takes sometimes. So Siobhan Gallagher is an enterprise sales leader, and she's now here with us. She's an established sales leader with over 2 decades of experience across enterprise software sales, leading and managing global high-performance sales teams. And experience covers global organizations like Oracle and PwC into an additional number of high-growth scale-ups, and she's passionate about enabling others to progress their careers and supports a number of women in sales organizations. And she's going to be talking about resilience and strategies to help you shine. So over to you, Siobhan.
Hi, James. Great to be here. Thanks for the invite. And
Great.
Yeah, I just thought it was really important in this day and age to maybe speak for a few moments about resilience in sales, because I don't need to tell anyone, but sales is tough. Sales is tough right now, and life is tough as well. Turn on the news and there's no good news. So with the experience that I've gained over the last few years in sales and just in life in general, I've come up with a few strategies for myself to help me be more resilient. Basically, what is resilience? Well, of course, I went to ChatGPT to find out, what is the definition of resilience. And yeah, it's the same as it is everywhere else. It's basically being able to bounce back when you're faced with stress, obstacles, challenges, when something bad happens, but being able to actually get up, dust yourself down, if possible, take the learnings from what's happened and then move on and get back in the game. And it's really more important now than ever to be able to be resilient in sales. And why is it important? Because resilience is the thing that will help you have a long-term career. Most of us will be working for maybe 30, 40 years, and we need to be able to enjoy those years and the work that we do. And the best way that I do that is to be realistic about how I deal with stress, and to be, I think, being resilient really helps with that. So I've got 5 points that I just want to cover off quickly. Basically, corny but true, what helps with being resilient, the absolute core of it is having a positive attitude and realizing that, I think Mark Twain said it, I've had some terrible things happen to me in life, but actually only 2% of them ever came true. And we all, especially I think at the moment, have a tendency sometimes to catastrophize, to think the worst, or to become overwhelmed. And it's absolutely critical to keep a positive attitude, to believe in yourself, to know your self-worth. And I know that is easy sometimes to say that, but for me, I know what my strengths are. I also know what my weaknesses are. I have a folder of things and pictures and whatever of the things that I've achieved. And I think it's really helpful to look at where you are now and to look at how far you've come, and to be able to reflect on actually all of the qualities that it took to get here. Anyone that's in sales in London at the moment, well, We're all probably doing jobs that are, in the top 10% of jobs that are stressful but also rewarding. We're all here in the capital for, to make the best of what we can. So that sets us apart in my eyes. And I think also the other elephant in the room is imposter syndrome. I don't think there is a woman I've ever worked with who hasn't suffered from imposter syndrome. And for me, I just want to actually say that at my level, I'm sure on that C-suite as well, we all suffer from it from time to time. So it's important to realize that actually no one is usually very much smarter than you. They're not better than you. They've just had more practice at doing whatever they've done. And we're living in an amazing time where any of us can learn to do pretty much anything by going on the internet or watching YouTube, whatever, by taking classes, by just putting ourselves out there to learn. And that's what for me helps me feel that I've set myself aside. But I think knowing your worth and being able to acknowledge your worth, and then also in the workplace, being vocal about it, not being shy about speaking up and saying what you've done, and acknowledge, letting other people know what you've done up the chain as well as down. Because as women, I know a lot of us are just assuming that people will realize how good we are and how hard we work and whatever. And unfortunately, that is not the case. So for me, I think that's core to being resilient. And the other core part of being resilient is adaptability, being able to adapt to change. And I think the one thing that I've realized to help me get to where I am today in my career is the fact that actually I can handle change. I don't mind change at all. In fact, sometimes I relish it, because it means that change, sometimes bad things can happen, things that I don't want to happen, but it'll always bring a new opportunity, a new chance to learn something, meet new people, shine, do something different. And the core part of being adaptable is realizing that there's actually no other way that you can control the situation. You have to be able to, you have to adapt to the change because it is inevitable. So that, I think, is core to being able to deal with challenges, to realize that they are going to happen, and then work out how you can make it advantage to yourself. Following on and tied up with that adaptability is being able to take action, take responsibility for your part in the changes, and to put your hand up and to sometimes just jump in. For me, I think the core thing about change and why we fear it is because we don't know what's coming. Tim Ferriss, who wrote the 4-Hour Workweek, a great book, a great guy, he has a really excellent resource called Fear Setting Exercise that he does once a month or so. I do it myself from time to time. And it helps you acknowledge all of the things that you're afraid of, that are maybe eating away at you inside, or that you're publicly have acknowledged as stressing you out. And once you've actually put that down on paper, you've acknowledged it's there, it helps you realize, okay, what can I do about this? How can I deal with this? I can make a plan, a goal to work around this and work with it and make the best of a situation. And that also gives you back control. So taking action, doing something, taking control, taking responsibility for your part in what's coming down the line really helps to make you a stronger and more resilient person. The other part is Some is dealing with overwhelm as well, changes, especially at the pace of change that a lot of us are experiencing at the moment in the current economic climate. Work-wise, I know lots of people are going through change. For me, the easiest way to deal with feelings of overwhelm or not being able to cope is to actually acknowledge, okay, so what is the challenge here? What is the issue? What's the problem we're dealing with? And to break it down into small bite-sized pieces, which make it much more easy to deal with. Fourth point is kind of obvious, and that's to get yourself a support system. Support system can be at work, an external or internal mentor, colleagues, and I think maybe it's worth saying at this point also that if you don't feel that there is that supportive network in work, then maybe it's time also to take a look at where you are and work out if it's the right environment for you or not. But support systems are really critical, and they give you a space to vocalize what you're going through, to talk to people who acknowledge your strengths and to help you realize your worth, and to also think through and discuss alternatives and what you can do in the situation. And final point, obvious again, is self-care. I've made the mistake a few times to just throw myself into work 100%, and I have lots of hobbies, lots of things I'm interested in, but they kind of take a backseat because I want to get a handle on my role and what I'm doing, and that is a really, really bad thing, as I've come to realize. I think if you don't look after yourself, no one else is going to do it for you. And self-care can take very many forms. It can be going for a walk, cooking, dancing, a hobby, taking holidays, being with your family, just taking a bath, even cooking a nice meal. But it's about putting time aside for you to detach from whatever it is that takes up most of your thinking space. And the plus side is that it helps top up your energy levels, helps you come back to the workplace with a fresh set of eyes, renewed energy, and really just helps you realize that actually work is not the be all and end all. So yeah, I mean, I could actually talk for ages about this, James, but they're kind of the 5 points that I try to keep in mind to help me kind of be more resilient. Very valuable. Lots of great insight there, Siobhan. Thank you for sharing. And I'm sure there'll be some questions around those coping strategies in the Q&A. So we'll see you shortly. Okay, thanks. Thank you. Take care. Bye. Okay, so really open and honest, really great insight. We're on to our next speaker, which is Rachel Shields, who is the sales manager at Zoom Info. She's going to be talking about stories that have shaped her career as a female leader, and she's had a really interesting career. Welcome, Rachel.
Welcome.
She's a results-orientated sales leader with cross-functional experience across strategy, operations, digital, online media, business development, and marketing. She's developed a specialty around targeted planning and developing high-performance sales teams. And prior to Zoom Info, she had experience at companies like Trustpilot, Awin, OPP, and TripAdvisor. So the mic is yours, Rachel. Over to you.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much, James. So this is kind of a bit alien to me, and I always get nervous. I said that to James, and I want to be real and authentic. As much as I work in a kind of aggressive sales environment, it's never that easy doing public speaking post-COVID, where pre-COVID, used to stand up and do talks every week, stand-ups, presentations, where I got used to it. But I do have a little bit of imposter syndrome around that. So here we go. So I want to share some stories that I've experienced that have shaped my career as a female leader, especially in a sales environment, I think, is from my experience. Now, initially, in the early stages of my career, I primarily worked in a female-heavy industries, so places like recruitment, travel, education software. And my first kind of leadership role came when I was working for a software company, an education software company, when my daughter was younger. It really helped in working, obviously, like school hours, so it was great. At that company, I started as a salesperson. I got term time only, and I was just, I had a target quota. I suppose what happened was I was given an opportunity because of my previous background in recruitment to progress into a role that they just opened up to start recruiting and heading up their internal recruitment, which I've never done before, actually. I'd always done external, in growing out the business. And he gave me that role, which lasted a year. It was a great opportunity. And then he promoted me again. And I was in this position throughout my life where I'd never, ever been promoted into anything. I'd always worked in sales. I've always worked in recruitment. And suddenly I was getting this attention. I'd just separated from my husband at the time. I was feeling quite low. So it was a great confidence booster. And I kind of left there feeling, been promoted twice in my role. It gave me some confidence that I didn't actually realize I had. So those were my first steps into leadership. My next role in tech space was probably my most impactful experience as a leader, working for TripAdvisor. Basically, it was an acquisition that they'd just purchased. They needed a leader and growing out a team that didn't exist. So it was a whole new experience for me in a very kind of a bit like Airbnb when it first started out. So he recognized that my people skills and working in travel, working with different international people within sales as well, which is challenging. He saw something in me, which I didn't see in myself again, and pushed me to reach my full potential, even when I doubted myself, pushed me to do presentations off the cuff, because he knew if I had 2 days to think about it, I would never do it. And basically to create a go-to-market team from scratch and deliver results. And that was very alien to me at the time, but with support and faith in my ability, he basically, I was so determined to prove myself, which I did. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Those are kind of positives of my experience into leadership, which started out great. Roll on 5 years. I said my first position really in SaaS, which is even though I'd worked in tech, it was sort of things had changed. It was challenging. I chose that role. I went after that role. And it was a very male-dominated sales environment. My daughter had just gone to do her A-levels. I decided to commute to London. But I kind of knew that my leadership style would be valuable there. And I was surprised I actually got the job, because it was very aggressive sales, not what I'm used to. The thing is, as time, even though my VP at the time and sales director really embraced, probably to even out the testosterone in the office, I was the second female leader. First being when I first joined, I thought, great, I've got somebody to support me. She didn't speak to me at all. But, it is, I think it was a difficult sort of transition. I faced many challenges, such as my voice not being heard. I realized my salary was a lot less than more green male counterparts that had just been promoted into leadership. I had to justify my existence in meetings. My voice was loud. I got told I was emotional at times if I pushed back on things, even though I'd come with 10 years experience. However, somebody who reached out to me was our US VP, and he recognized again something in me and offered me the opportunity to start a women in leadership group globally. To increase not only my brand, but to give me that space to feel like it's a project that's my own, and deliver on that. This turned out basically a success. I, involved many of I say many, there was a small amount of females that worked at that time, to contribute and share ideas. And it turned out to be a success story over the 5-year period, which was also used as documentation of inclusive, as part of the IPO during COVID, which is fantastic. And I was quite proud of that. The challenges that this brought, though, at the time were sort of male counterparts felt that women were now getting special attention, special treatment. So, they thought that they'd have increased golf days and long lunches, which goes back to one of the comments I saw earlier about sports. The women also were now feeling empowered by some of the events that we had. They were being heard in meetings, and it had a sort of direct impact in hiring more women as we went out and advertised this throughout different channels like LinkedIn into positions and lowered attrition across the company. I suppose the main difference being all our female-led events were inclusive to all within the company, not just women, which also helped. And I suppose part of this, the irony is that even though I had to fight a lot harder from my own experience than my male colleagues, I have many stories. I want to keep it positive, but also explain, you can ask me questions at the end. I feel like every new career opportunities that I have faced has always been from a male leader who challenged my perspective and sort of promoted my career. The lessons I suppose that I've learned is these experiences, having just one person who believes in you can make a difference. Now, I actually challenged myself. I'm a very empathetic leader, which hasn't always gone down well in more aggressive sales environments. I've been told that doesn't work. Being transparent or understanding doesn't work. It's weak. I've always stuck to how I feel because I know it works. I love people. I love elevating people. It's not just women. But I have, just to give you an example, I had a lady that came in to interview, and she was interviewed by another manager and was told that she wasn't going to be very good at sales, so she should start as an SDR. I then also interviewed her, and I said, no, I'd like to give her the opportunity, which was knocked back. She joined as an SDR, and I said to our VP at the time, well, when she does move into an AE role, I would like to have her in my team. And that was the deal. She did progress into my team. She also had challenges where I, obviously was her champion. Some of them were pretty horrific because she was actually a very high performing salesperson. She had a doubt. She had imposter syndrome. I hope she felt I supported her. The irony is she still works for me today in a different company. So clearly she does. And she is by far, even on the days that she says she's not capable of doing her job, could probably be, a major leader in her field. But she just doesn't know it herself. And I always like to promote that. So I suppose, I strive to be respectful, empathetic leader, and continue to push through the glass ceiling within my role myself and help others along the way. And that's all, obviously you can ask for.
How do you feel now?
Still nervous. I had a little moment, but I'm real, It doesn't always go down well, but I'm very real.
We like it. Thanks for sharing. We'll get you back on the Q&A. I'm sure there's going to be some questions. So we're just going to invite our final speaker up, which is Tamara McMillen. I've actually shared the stage with her previously, and I've kind of experienced the force that she is. She's an experienced CRO, board advisor, and leadership coach. She's held many executive roles at startups, at scale-ups, and FTSE 100 companies, including companies like Virgin Media, Verizon, and Hitachi Data. She most recently was CRO for Open Corporates and is a board advisor to CRO Connected. She's passionate about leadership, growing businesses, supporting and advocating diversity and inclusion.
Thank you so much for having me here. And I just applaud everyone who's attending today and investing a little bit of time in yourself. I'm going to speak with you a little bit about brand. And this time it's going to be personal. And thank you, James, for asking me to share. Certainly not an expert, but I'm really happy to share my thoughts with you today and to encourage you to build yours. So what is a personal brand? Jeff Bezos said that your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. A brand evokes an emotional response. So our personal brand is our reputation. It's a calling card. It's a combination of the skills and the values that represent and define you and promotes what you stand for as an individual. It's how we present ourselves to the world. And whether we intentionally have crafted one or not, we all have one. So over the next few minutes, we'll talk about a little bit more about what is a personal brand. We'll look at an example. Why is it important? What keeps us from building one? And how should we go about doing it? So let's look at this example here. I hope you recognize this person. It's Michael Jordan, the jump man you'll see on many an Air Jordan pair of shoes. But what is Michael Jordan known for? Charisma, superior skills, a determination to win. He won 6 championships. He influenced the globalization of the sport of basketball and even the commercializing of the sport. He stands for honor, excellence, and courage. He's inspirational. There's a clear idea that comes to mind when people hear his name or see the number 23. But he wasn't always the Michael Jordan that we know. He built his brand through his excellence and initially really as an individual. And when he shifted to building not just his brand, but that of his team, his brand became legendary. So why should we build a brand? It's not just about being famous. In fact, it's about so much more. It's also not about making money, which is nothing wrong with either of those things. But when we build our brand, we have the opportunity to make a difference. This is Lizzo. For those of you who don't know, she is her brand is all about body positivity. Every body is beautiful. Black is beautiful. She said when she was a girl, she really wished she could see someone like her in media, but she knew that she was probably going to have to be the one to do it. We have that opportunity to be a representative. We also can share a fresh perspective. Many times we think that we're not bringing anything new to the party. People have already done what I'm doing, but they've never done it the way you've done it. You have a unique spin and history with the things that you've accomplished and achieved and the convictions that you have. Building your personal brand is an opportunity to elevate that and share it. Also, a great reason, ladies, is to help close the gender pay gap. Siobhan spoke about how shy we can be about promoting ourselves in the workplace, but do you know that the average woman will miss out on over $800,000 by the time she is 60 years old for failure for not negotiating on her own behalf or promoting herself? It's already tough enough to even the playing field financially. So building our personal brand is an opportunity for us to check out what we're worth. Now, what stops us? Modesty socially is one thing that has stopped us. It hasn't really been acceptable for us women to have bragging rights. I'm going to touch on 3 other things though here. One is a lack of self-belief, and we've heard a bit about that today. We have to believe in ourselves, and I want everyone here to remember that wherever you are today, someone believed in you, and that's why you have this job and you deliver. So we have to believe what they've said, and we have to believe in ourselves. We also like to use the word we a lot. It was a team effort. We did this together. But the truth is, you probably led that effort. You uniquely brought something to the party. We need to get comfortable with I. And another reason is we don't know how. Not really sure where to begin. I'm going to try and give you a few suggestions on that as we continue. Now, this is a quote that I like. It's a Chinese proverb. It's also something that was said by Maya Angelou. A bird doesn't sing because it has an answer. It sings because it has a song. For me, this is all about authenticity. Building your brand is not about just posting stuff. It's about being true to who you are so that you can speak with confidence. When we focus on our experience, our knowledge, our passions, we can talk confidently, and then it doesn't feel so difficult to share. When we self-promote, it does build our brand, and it helps control the narrative so that we know that when we're not in the room, the kinds of things that we think people might be saying about us. There are different ways that we can promote ourselves. We can do it offline or online. I'm going to use the example of LinkedIn now to give you some easy suggestions, I hope, about how you can help promote yourself and build your brand. So let's take a look at my profile. What I want us to think about is leveraging our LinkedIn profile. You know, when we think about our sub-brand, what are the roles that you're capable of doing? Not just the job title that you have today, but really the responsibility that you can carry. What are your passions and your values? Where are the places that you like to engage? This talks about section. That's a really important thing to populate if you haven't done that. You turn your creator mode on and you can put those in there. And when these hashtags trend and they're searched, people will find you. What opportunities would you consider and are you open to? Now, I am looking for my next job, but I always have mine open to work because we should always entertain conversations, I think, about people who might be interested in working with us. The analytics, this will be interesting for you to watch as you begin to promote yourself more and see what's resonating and sticking. And on the topics, some of these will be the same as the things that you talk about, and some will be different. But these become the inclusions in any posts you make or comments that you make. You add these things in, and this is how we start identifying and associating our brand with things that we care about. And we want to update them because we change over time. And the things that we're talking about today may be different tomorrow. So we want to keep it relevant and fresh. And the featured section is anytime we have the opportunity to engage in talks like this and they get recorded, or we've contributed to an article or written one ourselves, we absolutely should put them there. These things can speak about us to people when they want to get a greater sense of who we are and the kinds of things that we're engaged in. So I encourage you to use your LinkedIn profile. A couple of other examples. So posting and sharing. I talked about those hashtags. There's just two examples here of some posts. The one on the left, this is something a little bit more on the personal side of me that someone shared, and I really liked it. So I went ahead and shared it, which is about elevating others. And it also connected me in a way of things that I care about. On the right, a friend of mine, Roderick, he is an expert in sales enablement, which is a key component of being a CRO. I have loads of respect for him. He's launching a podcast channel on Spotify that's going to bring together all the many talks he's done. So I can elevate him, I can share and connect to those things and connect those topics as well to my personal brand. And this doesn't take a lot of work. The work's already really been done for us. We just have to take the time to do it. We can also build our brand by saying yes. And this is something that I encourage everyone to do. We get asked to do things like speaking today or participating on a panel. You know, I promise you it's not as easy as it might look to say yes, but I have made it a habit of mine to say yes, particularly when I'm afraid, because that is another way that I can build my brand. I can bring my experience. We do have things to contribute, and we're not the only one that's going to be speaking about ourselves. You know, sales confidence, James is posting about it. Others who are interested in this topic are going to be posting about it, and they'll help build your brand too. And this is what I call expanding our audience through this multiplier effect. So I have a few thousand followers, but the organizations that often are sponsoring events that I participate in have tens of thousands of followers. These are opportunities for impressions. And this is, again, another way that's a pretty easy way for our brand to get greater exposure. The result is that your brand has impact and reach. Most people care about a lot more than just their career. There's lots of things that we care about, and people are interested in knowing the whole of you, not just the professional side of you. This shows some statistics over the last year. These two posts had the most impressions, and I was just curious what they would be. The middle one's professional. It's when I got my job at Open Corporates, and I posted about it. Only a few hundred impressions behind is the personal one on the right. This was about my son. He suffered illness for several years and had a lot of disruption with school. But after all of that, he actually got into the university of his choice, and he was going to start really pursuing his dream. And that was something I wanted to share because I care about mental illness and long-term physical ailments and how those affect people, particularly when it comes to their dreams. People were almost equally interested in both of those things. For me, that makes it easier to build my brand because I feel I can talk about things that I'm good at, that I'm proud of, and that I care about. So this is a long list of lots of ways that you can essentially promote yourself and others and make connections and engage in conversations. Networking, really spend time outside of your day job. It's not only validating to the things you know, it gives you a chance to give back and share with others. Build your LinkedIn network. Share. post things, tag other people in. If you see something and it looks interesting, even if it doesn't directly relate to you, but someone else would be really interested, tag them into the comments, bring them into the conversation. We want to contribute and we want to connect people. We can be bridge builders. And then when you do create content, make it memorable and authentic and include a picture because the algorithms do like it. So I'm going to leave you with having you ask that question. What is your personal brand and what do you want it to be? When you leave the room and you're not present, what do you want people to say about you? And that's what I have to share with you today.
Super valuable. Thank you for sharing. We're going to invite all the speakers up. So this is an opportunity for you to ask questions. I think Tom might have some questions. If you're there, Melissa, let me know and we'll bring you back up. I think Leanne's had to pop off. Some of the questions that we did at the end, and it's really nice for you to speak so openly about the challenges that you faced in your career. A few mentions of imposter syndrome, it impacts everybody. That vulnerability, I think, is good for people to hear, especially at earlier stages in their career. So I'd love to get some questions from the audience. Don't be shy. This is your opportunity, to say something. But Tom, is there anything that came to your mind that you'd like to ask our speakers?
Sure, I would love to ask some questions, and perhaps tomorrow I'll begin with you and that beautiful proverb of the song of the bird. And I just wondered, what is really in the song of your soul that you would love to express through your brand that maybe hasn't done that yet, and you would love to birth that here and now and let that fly?
Can you hear me right now?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yes. Between the other two platforms, I wasn't sure. Well, that's a pretty probing question there. And I love you for asking that. I was actually thinking of it myself when you were asking about the words earlier. I don't know. I think I'd like to find a way to make sure that I'm expressing, people are the most important thing to me. I love building businesses and growing, but all of those things are achieved through working with people. And so how do I make sure that level of authenticity is always shining through? And because that is the song of my heart. That's what I care about more than anything, is elevating, winning together. And that means customers, that means shareholders, and that means the employees that I have the fortune of leading.
Thank you. So elevating, winning together, and people. And how might that express for you? I'm just curious, what would winning together look like?
I have no idea. I really feel like I'm taking a test right now. I don't know. I mean, for me, winning together is keeping customers for life. It's watching revenue leaders succeed. It's seeing the alignment of sales and marketing be a true partnership and not a combative relationship. It's, the CFO being happy because the profitability numbers are met. I mean, that's what winning together is. Sales, I always say, is an individual sport with No, here I go again. Sales is a team sport with individual rewards. And I think it's something incredibly important to remember. No salesperson does anything alone. It takes a village to get over the line. So just always remembering that. I've
just got a question to come in with. At the beginning, and this is for everybody, there was, a large proportion of people that are not going to hit target right now. They're behind their sales targets. That's stressful. That makes for times to be more difficult. That's when you need to show more resilience. I wonder if anyone's got any perspective. Siobhan, maybe, how can you manage when you're going through a difficult phase and when you're underperforming against target?
Well, I mean, that kind of harks back to my point about keeping a record, a file, a blog, a book, a box or whatever of what you've done before, and knowing that, yes, you can do it, because unfortunately it's very easy to fall into a rut and lose confidence. And for me, I think sales is really a transfer of confidence. And the minute you start losing confidence and you go and talk to your prospect or anyone else, people can just sense that by your body language, whatever. So it's believing in yourself, knowing you can do it, going back and looking at what you've done, looking at your prospects, looking at the deals you're currently working on, and going through, doing a deal review of someone that you trust who can help you find angles to multi-thread a deal or to approach a prospect in a different way, or to actually be honest and turn around and say, this is dead, it's not going to work. So just say no and move on to something that will close. It's a bloody tough world out there at the moment, James. And, there are a lot of people that aren't performing, and sometimes it's not through any fault of their own. So just, keep doing what you're doing, but also asking other people for feedback, because maybe actually what you've been doing is not the right thing.
Great. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else to add? All right, I'll ask a question from the audience, and then Tom, you can ask another question. Sasha, Rachel, this is a question for you. You touched on when you found out that you were earning less than junior male colleagues. How did you get past that when you knew that you were earning less than your male colleagues? And how did you stop that from demotivating you?
Yeah, I saw that in the chat, actually. I was waiting for that one. Well, I did bang on the door quite a few times because I am quite resilient, I would say. At the time, unfortunately, we didn't have a HR department because we were still quite startup stage. I escalated to my VP at the time, but to no avail. And I basically took the opportunity when I knew that we were getting a new HR team in. I went direct and just said, look, I even went in quite soft, actually, if I'm honest. When I say they were being paid, even their commission, it's the base salary. I always said, when you go into an interview, you negotiate your salary, that's up to you. And I wasn't very good at doing that, but still, that was my responsibility. I take accountability for that part. But if we're all on the same targets and the commission is the same and the goal is the same, then why am I being hindered to achieve results less than? With the same goal. So that was my biggest point. And in the end, I did get it because we had quite a fierce HR team come in. So it went from one extreme to the other. And she put my salary up straight away and backdated it. So I was in a lucky position. I'm just being honest of what happened. But I still struggle in negotiating when I am faced with that as well. I feel like what is given to me is all I'm worth, so I just accept it. Whereas I know many of my male friends or male colleagues believe, because they grow up to believe, that they deserve it. Whereas my daughter, I've always tried to teach her, when she goes for a job interview, and she struggles with it, and I struggle to explain it to her as well. Actually, so yeah, it's still a challenge
to
for
that,
me.
James.
Go for it, Tom.
Can I add something? First of all, I agree with everything you said, Rachel. I love that you advocate for yourself, and I think we have to do that. I also just want to encourage you to what we spoke about earlier. This is also why it's so important to promote yourself and to negotiate while going into a job. Really know what the company is paying, because there's also an element of the disproportionate pay between men and women that is, in some senses, not the fault or immediate opportunity for a company to correct. It's a systemic problem. Men have been paid more. So a man's going to be asked, what are you making, or what are you looking for? And he's going to say, and a woman who's already making less is going to answer that same question. And unless a company doesn't ask that question and they've changed their approach, it is on us. I honestly would encourage everybody to probably ask for 10 grand more than you want. I mean, see how far you can go, because that's going to be our earliest and first opportunity to make sure that we're getting what we're worth. So I just wanted to add that in.
Thank you.
Tom, you got some more questions? I think he's...
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Ah, super. Yeah, there was a connection challenge there. I mean, something that we're exploring in the concept of brand, James and I, is that really it's this opportunity to create this legacy, and through personal brand to also transcend some of these challenges that mean you're more than a role, you're more than a company. And that supports with pay, that supports with getting the best opportunities and people reaching out to you. And so I just wonder how, for all of you actually, and this is a question to anyone that feels most resonant to answer, like how have you cultivated that? How have you navigated some of these challenges just in your own world, your own story, to craft a legacy and something that brings you to being more than a role, and also more than a woman, because we're here as women in sales. I mean, there's nothing that can identify you. You're all limitless beings. So who would like to take that first?
I didn't. If I'm honest, I didn't really understand the response to that.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that honesty.
Yeah,
So I
sorry.
guess the question really is on this theme, personal brand, and that's great.
Oh, I think you're cutting out. Yeah, it cut out for me.
So on that question of personal brand, it's essentially how can we further build that brand so that you become more than a role?
Well, I think, so I'll attempt a little bit on that. I think some of that is connecting with the things that you're passionate about and that you care about, to elevate yourself outside of your job. And some of that is by literally going outside and networking and engaging in other ways. And that might be in your industry, or it might be charities that you care about or causes. But I think that's a really important thing, because we're dimensional as humans. We're not just one thing. Is that the direction of your question, Thomas? Did you cut out a little, so maybe I didn't hear it?
It is, yeah. It's really that awareness that we're all so holistic, we're all so complete, and sometimes we can focus on the numbers, the quantitative, the thinking. You know, Rachel, there's been this opportunity for us to connect with the heart and the emotional intelligence, and to just make being in sales and being in this role more complete. So it's looking at ways to do that. So thank you, Tamara. Yes. And if anyone else has ideas, please share.
So Louise, I've got a question coming in from the feed. Louise is asking, as the only female in the sales team, what are your top tips for building sales skills that feel more authentic and trying to resemble the personalities of some of your male counterparts? Go on, Siobhan.
Sorry, I'm laughing here. The one thing that I notice the most in any sales conversation is that women listen more, and the men on the team just rush in and start talking and start pitching. And the old adage in sales, 2 ears, 1 mouth, use them in that proportion is always that's never going to go away. So I think it's really important to listen. And, it's a bit of a generalization, but I find that women tend to listen more than men. So that's kind of my super power.
Melissa, have you got any?
The other thing is that women are really good at building rapport. So we often will start and somehow come into the conversation of, oh, so you have a family, or, I heard your assistant say you were gone this weekend. Where did you happen to go? I don't want to resemble a man in a conversation. I want to be myself. And actually, it quite takes people by surprise. So I think just being yourself would probably be enough. We're naturally quite relational and collaborative as a gender. And that usually works well for us. Women outperform men in sales, by the way, almost always. So no disrespect to all the successful salesmen. Just women do really well in the profession.
I was going to say something similar. I was the only female on my team for 3 years, and it was different, like ramping and learning. But like very similar to what Tamara was saying, I just feel like I'm friendly. and we use Gong, and so you can see your stats in Gong, and it was like my customers were always talking more, like my prospects, because we were just basically shooting the shit. And I think if you can just be yourself, then when it comes to selling, you don't even feel like you're selling, you're working collaboratively with them. And I just think that females tend to be more inclined to be that way.
Yeah.
Amazing. I'm just mindful of time. We slightly overran because of our Q&A. There's loads of questions coming in. We wanted to do some networking. What I'll do is I'll keep the system running in the background. So if there's a networking tab afterwards for people that just want to hang around and have conversations, feel free to do that. But I'll take this opportunity to wrap up and thank each of you for putting in the effort to prepare and also actually delivering your talks. There's been a lot of engagement. There always is on our Women in Sales events, more than our general ones. And I think you're really touching on personal experiences. And for you to be open and authentic, I think has a real positive impact. So I just want to extend our thanks and thank you for your contribution. It helps build the community and support others in this profession. So thanks very much.